Do you want to know about the best school districts in St. Louis? Which ones are the best rated? Which one has the best academics? Which one has the most diversity? Which one pays their teachers the most? I'm breaking down all that data in this video right here. I was able to get the data from the Missouri Department of Primary and Secondary Education. I took the top 10 school districts in the St. Louis area. I'm going to break down demographics, academics, staff, all that stuff. This was a lot of work and a lot of data to sift through so you can save time. Hey, I'm Ben, your St. Louis real estate ninja. If you need help with St. Louis real estate, that's what I'm here for. Let's talk about it. Please text, email, or call me, and I'd be happy to help you out with your real estate needs in St. Louis. If you could support the channel, that would be amazing. That would help out tremendously. We are just a small channel, and any little support helps. Other than that, let's get to it. So the first tier of schools here is 4 different school districts. That's going to be Brentwood, Francis Howell, Webster Groves, Maplewood-Richmond Heights. I was able to download all the information here, and some of these school districts are really small. Brentwood has about 706 students, so less than 1,000 students. It is centrally located, that's why I have them on here, but that is going to be a very hard school district to get into just because of the sheer size of the school district. Maplewood-Richmond Heights only has 1,375 students, while Francis Howell has 16,500 students. So it's by far the largest school district, with Webster Groves at about 4,200 students. So let's look at the student demographic population here. So from the stats here, Brentwood and Maplewood-Richmond Heights are the most diverse, and Francis Howell and Webster Groves have the most white students. Brentwood has 8.1% Asian students, Francis Howell at 4.3%, Webster Groves and Maplewood-Richmond Heights at about 1.1 and 1.6 respectively. When you get to black students, Brentwood has 14.3%, Maplewood has 16.4%, Webster Groves at 9.6%, Francis Howell at 7.7%. The Hispanic population is about the same, around that 5% range, so not much difference there. Multiracial, Maplewood-Richmond Heights has 11.4%, Brentwood 8.5%, Francis Howell at 5.5%, and Webster Groves at 7%. When you look at the amount of students that qualify for reduced or free lunch, 30% Maplewood-Richmond Heights, 10% Webster Groves, 14.2% Francis Howell, 18% Brentwood. Let's get into the academic metrics here. The graduation rates here are in that 95 to 100%. Maplewood-Richmond Heights is surprisingly at 100% here, the data shows. So that is pretty fantastic. It is a smaller school district. Francis Howell at 95.6%. Keep in mind it has way more students, but overall, very good graduation rates above the state average. Let's look at the ACT scores here. We got Brentwood at 22.4, Francis Howell 21.3, Webster Groves 23, and Maplewood-Richmond Heights 21.9. So Webster Groves has the highest, followed by Brentwood, but they're all very, very close. And if you wanted to split hairs, Webster Groves has the highest. So let's look at the staffing with these schools. Student to teacher ratio. Brentwood 9, Francis Howell 19, Webster Groves 14, Maplewood-Richmond Heights 12. Brentwood has the smallest because it is the smallest school district, but Webster Groves 14, Maplewood-Richmond Heights 12, Francis Howell 19. Now let's look at the average salaries each teacher makes in these school districts. We have Brentwood, the average salary is $67,000, Francis Howell 65, Webster Groves 70, Maplewood-Richmond Heights 63. So pretty similar overall, but Webster Groves pays their teachers the best, while Maplewood-Richmond Heights the lowest out of these 4. What I like to look at too is expenditures per pupil. So that's the amount of resources per kid. And Brentwood by far has the most at 23,600. Francis Howell 12,000, Webster Groves 13,000, and Maplewood-Richmond Heights 17,000. So it goes Brentwood, Richmond Heights, Webster Groves, then Francis Howell. Now I'm going to go into some of the main thoughts here with each school district that I see from the data. Brentwood is super small, so if you really want a tight-knit community, Brentwood is a good school district to go to. It has a higher percentage of Asian and Black students compared to the other district. Francis Howell is very impressive to me because it is by far the largest school district that we are comparing in this tier. 16,000 students, which is 4 times more than Webster Groves. So to have all their metrics right there in line with everybody else is very impressive with so many students. So it does have, a larger teacher to student ratio, but for the amount of students it has, it is a very good bang for your buck. And usually the prices in St. Charles can be more affordable in most places. So to have that great of school district for that great of house is really, really good. Webster Groves looks to have the highest testing scores, the highest teacher salaries. So academically, it's one of the stronger ones. Maplewood-Richmond Heights is a very good central location, and there is more diversity there. So if you are looking for a lot of diversity in student and socioeconomic, Maplewood-Richmond Heights is a good school district for that also. Brentwood has the lowest student to teacher ratio. Maplewood-Richmond Heights has the highest expenditures per pupil, and that could reflect more resources per student. And all of the districts have a higher percentage of professional staff with advanced degrees, but every school district has its strengths and weaknesses, and I just wanted to lay out the data for you so you can make the best decision for you and your family. Now we are going into Tier 2 of the best public school districts in the St. Louis area. So in this tier, we're going to go with Lindbergh, Rockwood, and Parkway. Looking at the data here, Lindbergh has about 7,143 students, and Parkway has 16,800 students, and Rockwood has 19,000 students. So Rockwood and Parkway are way bigger than Lindbergh, more than double the population. Lindbergh has 82.5% white, Rockwood 74%, and Parkway 58%. If you look at the Asian population, 4.5% at Lindbergh, 10% at Rockwood, 13.6% at Parkway. The Black population, Lindbergh at 2.4%, Rockwood at 6.9%, and Parkway at 15.5%. The Hispanic population is almost the same at 5.5% at Parkway and Lindbergh, with Rockwood a little lower at 4.6%. Multi-ratio is about that 4 to 6%, pretty even across. The number of students on reduced and free lunch is 13.5 at Lindbergh, Rockwood 11.9, Parkway 19. So Parkway looks to have the more diverse socioeconomic backgrounds here. Special education, they're all around the same at that 13 to 15%. The gifted population is about that 10%. Rockwood has 11.6%, so about a percentage and a half higher than the other two. Going into the academics, the graduation rate is about the same, around that 95% all across the board. So this metric here, entering employment, is the amount of students that go to work right after graduating high school. And Lindbergh has a higher percentage at 13.2%, Rockwood at 3%, and Parkway at 5.9%. Now we are going to look at the staffing in these school districts. The student to classroom teacher ratio is about the same. So 16, 16, and 15 at Parkway. So Parkway, one less student per classroom, but overall, very, very similar. The average teacher salary at Lindbergh is $64,000, Rockwood $67,000, and Parkway at the most at $73,000. And their administrators, they all make around the same, $125 to $129. the average administrator salary. Going back to expenditures per pupil, which is money per student, Lindbergh at $10,700 per student, Rockwood $11,800 per student, and Parkway at $13,000 per student. So now that we went over the numbers, there are a few things that stood out about these stats. Parkway looks to be the most diverse population with the highest percentage of Asian and Black students. Rockwood beats out the other two as far as graduation rate and the lowest dropout rate, just by a percentage, but it is higher than the other two. Parkway has the best student to teacher ratio, and Parkway also pays their teachers the most. Lindbergh is a smaller school district that performs academically well also. Now let's get to tier 1 of the best school districts in the St. Louis area. This video is going to be made up of Kirkwood, Clayton, and Ladue. So overall, these school districts are relatively small, with Ladue at 4,200 students, Kirkwood at 5,800 students, and Clayton at 2,300 students. So Clayton is the smallest. As far as the demographics here, we have Ladue at 55% white, Kirkwood at 78%, and Clayton at 61%. For Asian students, 17% at Ladue, 1.3% at Kirkwood, and 12% at Clayton. Black students, about 15% at Ladue, 9% at Kirkwood, and 14% at Clayton. The Hispanic population is about the same throughout at that 4 to 5%. Ladue and Clayton have 8% multiracial, Kirkwood at 6.5%. As far as free and reduced lunch, it's about the same across 8 to 9%. In the gifted learners in these school districts, Ladue has 21%, Kirkwood at 10%, Clayton at 22%. So Clayton and Ladue have double the amount as Kirkwood. The graduation rates here are stellar. Clayton at the highest percentage at 99.5, Kirkwood second at 98, and Ladue here at about 98 as well. We are able to get some of the proficiency data on this. ELA is English Language Arts, and Clayton has the highest proficiency with 74, Kirkwood 67, Ladue 73. As far as math, Clayton at 77, Kirkwood at 56, Ladue at 73%. And if you look at the ACT scores here, Ladue is at 26.5, Kirkwood at 23.3, Clayton at 27. So once again, Clayton a little bit higher than Ladue in this one. Let's look at the average salary of the staff at these schools. Ladue at $77,000, Kirkwood at $75,000, and Clayton at $83,000. Let's round it off with money per student. So Ladue is at about $15,000 per student, Kirkwood about $14,000 per student, and Clayton at the highest, $22,000 per student. So now let's break down some of this data here. Ladue stands out with the most diversity with 17% Asian and 14% Black students. Kirkwood is predominantly white and only has 1.3% Asians. Clayton has a good balance with 12% Asian and 13-14% Black. As far as the academics, Clayton stands out with the best proficiency scores, ACT scores, graduation rates. They're all a couple percentages higher than the rest. Clayton also pays their teachers the most, $83,000 compared to $77,000 and $74,000 for the other two. Clayton also spends the most per student at $22,000 per student. That is a lot higher than $14,000 and $13,000 respectively for Kirkwood and Ladue. Overall, Ladue has a good diversity mix, good academics, and high administrator salaries. Kirkwood is a great school district, very centrally located, and is a great bang for your buck. Clayton seems to excel more than the rest in academics and in financial investment per student, and has good diversity too. Clayton is one of the pricier neighborhoods in St. Louis, so getting in could be a challenge, but overall, the metrics shine in Clayton. Choosing the right school district for your kids and family is a big decision. That's why I tried to break down the numbers for you here to make it easier for you. A lot of these metrics are very close in a few percentage points within each other, and it's kind of like splitting hairs. It's just because one thing is, just because one school district has 1 or 2 points higher than the other one doesn't mean this one is just way better. It's just the data. So just keep in mind that all these schools are really good. You have to consider how much you can afford to pay for a house to live in there. But I'm just hoping that this data helped you out and you can make the best decision for you and your family. If you need help with St. Louis real estate, please call me, text me, or email me. I would love to help you out and talk to you about that. I also have another video here that breaks down another community that has good bang for your buck, good school districts, great housing, and a great place to live. Please check that out so you can get more information. But other than that, I'll see you on the next one.